saying, is he coach number 2? Because university number 6, coach number 2.
All the reports I saw in the last 2 days, yesterday was Wall Street Journal, CBS, ESPN, have all reported that he is clearly coach number 2. And the FBI said that they had a big fish, and who was a bigger fish than him, that he's coach 2. The issue is he coach 2 that had his hands in the middle of paying a player, which could then mean the death penalty, because you can't be a university and you can, one thing to say, I don't know what's going on. You definitely can't say I don't know what's going on when you're arranging and facilitating payments to a player.
I guess it's because the question is, that begs the question, how many times is this guy, how many times can you say, I did not know what's going on? I mean, how many times can you use the Shaggy defense? It wasn't me.
It wasn't me, but the thing is, the first time is something that's plausible. Strippers coming into the dorm at night when you don't live there, and it's 11 o'clock at night. That has happened. I don't know about strippers, but women going into dorms, those type of things you've heard about. Lots of people say that's one thing. I could see him not knowing about that.
What? I never got the big deal about it. But before I go talk about that too much, one thing that confused me is federal prosecutors getting involved in NCAA violations. It seemed really like next level for that to suddenly become a thing, that NCAA is getting federal prosecutors involved to deal with their cases.
Well, they now believe, and there was articles about this, that is in their purview because of this. These, and the whole scenario is kind of hard to explain. It's like I had to read the indictment and read what's going on. First of all, U of L has not been charged in anything because it's just one paying players. That's an NCAA violation. It was not even the subject of the investigation. Essentially what happened was, there's a guy up in Philadelphia, is my understanding, and this guy is the confidential informant. He got caught up on his own SEC securities fraud. He's a financial advisor.
That's totally unrelated to this.
Totally, well, no, it's related, but it's sort of unrelated because, yes, he had his own issues. He says, which is what happens in all criminal cases, as you all know from doing criminal work, I'm not going down. I want to cop a deal. I got info. His info was on, I got some stuff that's going on college corruption, and how do you know about it, sir? Well, I was part of it. So then he had a bunch of information on bribery that was going on. And so then he gave up this information and led them to the Auburn coach, Persons, and that person was basically steering players to him that he never met, and he was paying them for the ability to financially manage them in the future. That's a problem, because you got a coach who's in Auburn who's meeting these players 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, recruiting them, and then he's steering them to this guy. These players don't know, based on their trust in him as their mentor, father figure. When you have a lot of kids who are poor, come from lack of father figures, and now they trust this guy, and this guy's saying, hey, this guy's going to take care of you when you go make your money pro.
Yeah, and the one thing that I always thought was so weird about the federal prosecutors getting involved in this is that not only is it not make sense to me it's feds are involved, but also it's New York Southern District.
Yeah,
which is not Philadelphia. And it's funny, when I was in New York, I actually worked for Southern District for a while, and like one thing the Southern prosecutors do all the time, they just take cases that are like very media pro. Right. Like they took a random, like I remember Facebook had a case over there that like was in Pennsylvania, and they just take the case and deal with a Facebook litigation from a different state entirely because they're the masters of wire fraud and like this kind of litigation. So they're just like out for these cases all the time. Now I'm really bothered by how the NCAA keeps attacking and acting like they have moral superiority to these people that are paying players for being athletes. Not to get too but
yeah, but then that's how we get into the bribery, and I didn't even realize that you could look at that much time. But this coach is looking at 80 years.
Fed time is real.
He's got 32-page indictment, right?
32-page indictment, but Persons is looking at 80 years because essentially you cannot
first time
take money.
80 years.
And then apparently they found out, okay, so they linked it up to him, and then this guy was able to link it up to another coach in Arizona, and apparently this is how you do business in college. You know, these shoe companies are paying coaches on the back end for them steering them not only to financial advisors, but hey, you go sign with this shoe company, I give you $10,000, $15,000 once the person signs, and so they were basically recruiting kids that they had no access to and paying the coaches for access to kids, and they were bribing them.
I mean, I was watching something on television, and they said that the whole thing started off this shoe stuff was with Sonny Vaccaro. When Sonny Vaccaro was working at Nike, of course, he famously I guess took Michael Jordan he took his career to the next level after he signed Michael Jordan to that shoe contract with Nike, right? Before Sonny Vaccaro was with Adidas and all these ABCD camps or whatever. So Sonny Vaccaro said that what he started doing was he would pay the coaches directly. Remember that? Coaches would get, back in the day, you had what? Everybody knows. Georgetown was a Nike school. Everybody was wearing the Georgetown Hoyas Nikes, the gray and the blue. John Thompson, he paid John Thompson and said, "Hey," and John Thompson said, "You're gonna wear, the kids are gonna wear these shoes." Why? Because they don't really care about. They don't care about the access to the players. They want the players to wear the shoes because they know when they go back to their neighborhood, all the kids in the neighborhood are going to wear those shoes because because of that, because it's a fashion thing. So and that's really what it is. It's the poor kids, not necessarily the poor kids that are playing basketball. Mm-hmm. It's the poor kids that are in the neighborhood that cannot afford $200 and $300 shoes that are going to buy $200 and $300 shoes because Allen Iverson's got shoes, and there's hundreds of thousands of these kids.
And that's the thing is this is a rare situation where the people bribing people I actually think are more ethical than the people that are calling them out for the legal violations because the law.
Sure.
Because these what you're saying right here. How is it? This is something that I just want to know what your guys' thoughts are. I always think it's disturbing when these schools make these kids. Chris Webber in the Michigan 5, I think there was this great, talk about this a lot, where it's the jersey of Chris Webber is sold for millions from Michigan without his name on it. And he doesn't get a single dollar of that. And his family is starving at home, can't keep the lights on.
Weber's family wasn't starved.
Sorry, maybe not Webber, but Jalen Rose, for example.
Maybe Jalen Rose had it tougher.
So example, someone like Jalen Rose, who I know went down there, and I'm sure there's plenty of players like that get $5,000 for a year of their life working at dogs to work in these colleges.
Well, that's what you sign up for, man. That's you sign up.
You're doing a choice.
You sign up for the dream,
right? Choice.
You got a choice. You got a choice. You can go to North Carolina A&T. You can go to Kentucky State and play in obscurity.
Everyone needs to go to Europe. That's the next phase.
Well,
I think, do you guys think that maybe after all this, a different conference is going to come out besides NCAA that can pay players, and then all the athletes just going to go to that instead?
No.
Okay.
I doubt it because it's so entrenched and ingrained. And that's that brings up an excellent point because if you think about it, the question becomes, who cares?
Right.
The leagues don't care. The kids don't care because now everybody's on Instagram and YouTube, and now who's the kid from here? I guess he went to Manual. Maybe he's going to Duke. He's a football player, smart kid, and he made his announcement on YouTube. It's a huge deal. So it's more of a celebrity thing and a look at me type of thing now for a kid because the kid's not thinking down the road. Look, I'm gonna need a career. I'm gonna need whatever to live off of.
And don't get me wrong, I get it's a choice, they get that there's going to be money at the end, but that's not for all the kids. All these football players that are in college that get major head trauma, and now that we are starting to understand CTE, the terrible brain damage that happens and the rate of injury and how these people's bodies get destroyed, right. And how even if you get that injury, you lose scholarship and things like that. Stunning.
They don't care.
That's so exploitative.
They don't care.
I definitely think the schools exploit them. I don't know. The problem is
these players
when you pay them, how are you going to, if you're talking about being 100% fair, how do you pay the football and basketball team and not pay the swimmers?
Because the swimmers don't make any money. There's the end of the conversation. The end.
It's not going to be because you got Title IX.
But that's
how do you not pay the women's basketball team?
Right.
They don't make as much money. How do you pay? Okay, so
they practice just as long, many hours.
And U of L, and right now there's about 20 schools that can win a basketball championship, maybe 30. If you go to just paying players, you knock it down to maybe 10 to 15 at best. Wichita State is never going to pay a player as much as Louisville or Kentucky.
So you think
They can't afford it.
You think if you go to a payment system, schools like Butler will just never make it again?
Never. They don't
So
have the fan base.
What's
or the
wrong
money.
with that, though?
What's-
I mean, again, what's wrong? Because
That's
the
a
thing is,
capitalist view of saying we
but
just.
I mean, these players are used like capitals. Like, they're working 60 hours a week. Like, they aren't getting an education. If you want to get paid to play basketball, you go to UK and work and at that competitive level.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
at
like NBA
UK
players. It's like people that can't make the NBA being sad they can't get paid NBA money. It's like,
Well,
okay.
everybody goes
It's like
to
the
UK is not
Yankees.
going to NBA. John, not John Wall, but who's a
I
kid?
get what you're saying.
Who's a kid from Madisonville?
Yeah.
There was Kentucky. There's the Player of the Year, and he's not. But he might be.
the kid that had the DUI. Yeah.
Oh, you talking about Derek, the big,
Derek.
the big kid?
Yes, that's your school. I mean, I was a Derek.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't
But
know.
that
After
guy-
they leave, I don't remember the names.
Yeah,
unless you go to the
he's
NBA.
ended up going. He was Mr. Basketball and stayed there 4 years.
Yeah.
But you still, well, their life is not. Look, they are exploited, but you are living in the best dorm on campus. You have you have food.
Ooh, a
You have
dorm.
you don't pay a penny of.
You got
food.
your own chef.
You have training and nutritionists. You also have chartered flights. You stay in top-notch hotels. You get to travel all over the world for the most part. Now, you are being exploited, and the reason why they spend all that money on you, because if you go to UK, you do get to go to Bahamas and stay in all these chartered flights and stuff. But UK is making $30-40 million off your work.
Yeah.
So I agree that.
And they're
But the
spending
problem,
maybe 80 grand on that, if that.
but how in the world do you pay? And then also, okay, so the kid who, so if you paid everybody on the team, you can't pay them all the same amount. So now you're taking kids and paying them who are 18, 19. And how about if a kid who is 22 and he's getting paid less than 18? Like the kid we paying $100,000, I didn't even know.
Well,
He was on
LeBron
my
went
team.
straight from high school into the NBA, and things worked out fine with
Who's that?
paying the pants off him. LeBron.
Oh.
LeBron went straight out. Kobe went straight out. That's another
So
thing.
get rid of the one and done.
Yeah, getting rid of the one and done's another thing.
Yeah.
I mean that.
Getting rid of it?
Yeah.
Not requiring them to go for 1 year.
Yeah.
That's also exploitative. It's like we want to make sure that you can't just go to the NBA if you're ready for it. Because
Now
that's
they do it in football.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I think
football
football is different. Football is different because I think it's a physical thing.
Yeah.
You're playing.
'Cause some
You
kid
got a
will get
19-year-old
killed.
kid playing
Yeah.
with a 30-year-old
But yeah,
and getting knocked out by him.
I just think that the main reason why this whole thing about the NCAA to me is such a non-story is as competitors and as athletes, none of these players as they leave, like for example, the vacating of Louisville's 2013 championship, it's not like people don't remember who won in 2013, right? Like they might not get the banner, but it's like it's not like
Yeah.
them having a stripper in their room invalidated them winning a game. Like it doesn't make any sense. So
Well-
the sanctions aren't even effective as deterrents either. Because they still make all the money off of it. The fans still support the team. It's not like I hear about this as a fan of Louisville and I'm like, oh, I'm not supporting them paying their players. It's
Yeah, you're gonna support him.
I mean, today, Billis from ESPN was tweeting out scandals that started back in 1929. So, college recruiting,
Chicago Black Sox.
Yes, college recruiting they have been cheating since almost 100 years.
Yeah.
Well, the money hasn't been as big though.
The money has not been
Good
big.
point.
Yeah.
Today I found out that who was it? It was Michael Beasley who said, y'all are now just catching on. Supposedly Kevin Love from UCLA got $250,000 to play for UCLA.
Of course.
Wow.
And that's being reported
And
by
worth every
Jason
dollar.
Williams because he said Jason Williams and him had the same marketing agent,
Oh,
had the
okay.
same agent. So
Okay.
Jason Williams is that's
Jason
why
Williams
I
is gonna
say-
blow it up.
Yeah, so people are now finding out that these players, people were getting, there's so much money going on, but now the money is just outrageous. Coaches are making $7 million a year. They make more in college than they ever did in the pros.
Right.
That used to not be the case. Now you can make more coaching. Like you have Nick Saban in Alabama's making $10 million a year. I don't know how many NFL coaches are making $10 million a year.
Well, he is the Bill Belichick of college coaching, apparently.
Well, he gets the best players.
Yeah.
I mean, once you get, and that's the other thing. It's two things. Number one is forget the players. What about these coaches, these athletic directors using these universities as their personal piggy bank? Because, okay, just bring it back home. You got Tom George and Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino's son, Richard Pitino, got a job in Minnesota based off of his dad. I mean, that's it. He never. He didn't play ball. He just sat underneath his dad and then learned from him. You know, okay, great. Hasn't made the NCAA tournament. In Minnesota, Jurish's daughter's working for Adidas. His son is assistant athletic director.
Yeah.
Okay, with no prior experience. Now, if you want to be athletic,
tenuous now probably.
Well, yeah. But I mean, you know.
But yes.
Yeah, I mean,
but everybody
you get hooked. Petrino's son is the quarterback coach. Messing up. Don't know. What does he know about being a quarterback? He's barely older than Lamar Jackson.
He was the Trinity quarterback. He was a quarterback at Trinity and didn't do anything. I mean, he was a good quarterback at Trinity, and then he went to college, and I don't think he.
So I mean that's what keeps getting perpetuated. I mean, you got it even in the pros. Ken Zampese just got fired from. It's the pros, but he just got fired from Cincinnati as offensive coordinator. Who's his dad? Ernie Zampese. Used to coach for the Cowboys. I mean, this thing goes on and on and on. At least if you're paying players, these guys have talent. These guys have a tangible talent. If you got a coach, athletic director, obviously what they're saying is, I can make my kid athletic director, make him a coach, make him or her a coach, without any prior experience. These guys are interchangeable, man. The talent. It's not interchangeable. Every kid, you can't just go. I mean, how many? We all went to high school. How many kids from my high school do we see playing in any professional sport?
None.
Yeah, okay, and you went to high school in Atlanta, a major city. You went to high school in New York City, Cincinnati, major city. I went to high school in Annapolis. I had one kid that I know. He punted for the. Brooks Bernard, he punted like one game for the Patriots, and that was it.
We actually Lakers,
okay.
But he was way before my time. But he was the only school kid in our high school history that went pro.
Now, Princeton High School we had some basketball players who played professional ball in Europe, and I think we had one guy play for the Jazz that was like 2 or 3 years before me. But he was like a.
You went to Princeton and Cincinnati?
Princeton, it's a public high school, yeah.
In Cincinnati, yeah, I've been there.
But the point is.
But yeah,
you know,
incredibly rare. Yeah.
It's incredibly rare. You don't find these talented guys. That's why they're paying these guys, because you don't have these guys. You know, these guys are not just popping out of the hospital, man. These guys are rare to find. Now it's easier to find them. It's harder to miss them now because of social media and the ways we can, you know, stay in contact with people and find people on the rocks and things. But they're not. These guys are few and far between. You know, that's why they're getting paid. So, you know, and that's why it's so competitive to go to these schools each year in year out. That's why everybody looks at cat's paws and I don't know, all these rating systems and all the other type of stuff. This is a rare. These athletes are rare. These top tier athletes are rare.
There's actually, from what I was reading, these companies now know, and they're bidding on people like they are capital, like the chattel. It's like if you're a 5-star player, you are rated as $100,000 prospect. And like the thing that came out on the record was we had to pay him $100,000 because we was about to get outbid by another shoe company.
Okay.
And so these kids are getting bid on
because he played for a Nike AAU team, Bowen.
And then he came out of nowhere and said, "I'm going to Louisville," and they made an unofficial visit. And then that's when Pitino was like,
Same day.
We didn't even spend any money on him. Right. And then I was like, and I went back and read it, and it was like he didn't spend any money because they didn't spend an unofficial visit.
Right.
They didn't have to take him to dinner and all that stuff. They weren't talking about actually paying him, which come to find out. So Adidas was, but that is the market for a 5-star. So you got to wonder. If he's making $100,000, what does Anthony Davis, what does Wall Cousins, what do those guys are bringing in?
But those guys keep their mouth shut.
What does Lamar Ball brings in?
I thought that was hilarious.
They keep their mouth shut.
Yeah, my favorite. I remember Reggie Bush when this whole drama was going on. He just gave back his Heisman because he didn't even care. He was like, "I'm making millions. I don't even care what you guys decide anymore." It's like it has no bearing on me. Do you think Rick Pitino's going to try to coach again, or like do you think he's just going to be done?
I think he's done.
I don't think he will. I will think he will coach again. I think he's very stubborn, and his name is sullied, and I think he wants to prove that. I mean, like I said, he said it was a bare knuckle fight.
Well, yeah.
I think does he have the energy to coach again? I think this will. I mean, he doesn't need the money.
Yeah.
I don't think he's not walking away from $40 million.
Yeah, it's like that's the thing is like I wonder how many schools actually even care that he did this, right? That are trying to hire people. Like how many were like,
Well,
well,
if they changed the rule and they started, you could pay players. Then
I think
they
they
don't have a job tomorrow.
I think they care. I think they care about the perception now.
Yeah.
Because you don't. Because it's things. These things go. You can't publicly endorse
certain things.
This guy now.
Yeah, but it's funny because like
I don't think you can publicly
him, right?
endorse.
Like literally everyone that works with him is like loves Rick Pitino, isn't that right?
Everyone around here, maybe.
Right.
Because
his players love him.
And then here's the thing.
Right.
He's very loyal to his players.
And that's what I respect about this guy.
Well, you would
he's
love
like
him too.
He's kind of mobstery to me. Like,
You would love him too. If he makes sure that your mom's good, your dad's good, I'm gonna love you too.
A lot of his players were players. Like that's why I think happened, and it's funny because I blame. It's his fault, but this never happened until 08, 09. And what coincides with 08, 09?
08, 09. Oh, when Calipari came.
When Calipari hit the scene, all of a sudden now we're dirty. We got strippers. We didn't have that he was here from 2000 to 2010, and we had some lean years.
Didn't win anything.
NIT years. We were in the Final Four once.
Yeah.
But we didn't have.
Oh yeah, but that's when you got blown. You got blown out by Illinois.
Yeah, by Illinois. But no one put pressure on him, and no one his job was never in jeopardy.
Well, to be fair, that was back when the Big East was crazy, if I remember correctly. The Big East back in those years were sending like 11 of the 16 teams to this.
That was in 2010.
Yeah, but
that was in.
You talking about that's not the real Big East. Man.
No, we were in the conference.
That's not the real. You from New York? That's not the real Big East, man.
Oh, the Big East.
Louisville's not the real Big East.
The Big East was the hardest it's ever been. But in 2000, it was 2010.
So that's a whole nother debate.
Yeah, that was when I was
you got to think for 4 years we were in the Big East. It was crazy, but we still had no pressure on him to win. He was still in conference. No one was telling him you need to leave. Calipari gets on the scene. UK becomes outstanding.
That's a good point.
And now all of a sudden we became a dirty program. He's calling card his whole career. He never cheated at Providence, Boston University.
Who said that? He cheated at Hawaii.
Who said he cheated at Hawaii?
1977. He cheated at the University of Hawaii. He
did.
Really? He gave a guy. No, he gave a guy free food coupons.
Nah, we don't do 77. Come on.
He paid for his plane ride in 1989.
That falls off the report, man.
That's like statute.
Well, I mean, you say he didn't cheat.
I didn't know he cheated. Period. He definitely didn't cheat at Kentucky.
He always says he didn't cheat.
He always says cheat. Man, how old was he back then?
I don't know. He was coaching.
19.
He was coaching. He was coaching.
Yeah, he was. He took a job interview on his wedding day.
Yeah, he was coaching.
I personally thought I'm sad that Pitino's gone because the Calipari Pitino Italian mobster coaches I thought was the funniest.
It's time. It's over with. It's over with. It's time for it to be over. Well, let's pivot. Let's pivot a little bit. What happened to those shirts that everybody? Where's his money? Let's talk about.
Couldn't stop smoking.
Now he's dirty. Now he's dirty, right? Kevin Ware's a smoker now. Okay, but anyway, let's talk about some culture wars, man. Last week, everybody was either kneeling or holding hands, singing "Kumbaya" and giving out Coca-Colas at all the NFL games. Right.
Oh, Coca-Cola, nice. That commercial.
So,
oh my god.
So I mean, here's the thing. All right, we saw. Okay, I'm a Cowboys fan. I saw the Cowboys. Well, I didn't see it. Somebody told me. It said the Cowboys before they played the anthem on Monday. Was it Monday night? Sunday night? No, Monday night, wasn't it? Yeah, Monday night. Before they played we'll talk about Ray. They kneeled before the anthem was played, and after the anthem was played, they stood up and locked arms. Okay, so Trump tweeted out that he's all these tweets. He tweeted out that my boy Jerry Jones knows how to do it. He did it the right way. he kneeled and he stood, right? Ray Lewis, he gets on two knees. Ray Lewis said he wasn't kneeling against police brutality. Ray Lewis said he was kneeling. He kneeled with both knees so he could pray that so God would help us in these perilous times. He was praying to God. Okay. So here's the thing, man. The thing about this is Kaepernick, 2 years ago was kneeling. Now everybody's kneeling. the hijacking the kneel, man. You can't. It's the It's the kneel. It's going to mean nothing. The kneel means nothing now. What is? I mean, and especially to this point, especially if you don't have an economic agenda, i.e. not a boycott, i.e. a strike or something.
Exactly.
The kneel means nothing.
And that's the thing.
It doesn't mean anything. It's just a T-shirt now.
No, and that's exactly the thing that I can appreciate about all these people doing this, is that it makes everyone realize that the kneeling itself is not the act. The kneeling itself doesn't prove anything about you being an ally or being an assistant to the cause of fighting against police murdering black people in our communities. And so, I mean, people like this that stand on the knee and stuff, it doesn't mean anything anymore. It's what else are you doing to assist these people? And if you're just doing that, it's just a fake facade of like you just trying to. It's like these. It's like, a little
politically.
Like it's like back in a couple years ago. Do you remember that Atlanta's GM resigned because he was like, "I need to make our place more appealing to white people, so I'm gonna stop putting black people on the jumbotron."
Yeah.
Remember that? He's like, too many black people are on the jumbotron.
You mean the Hawks GM?
Yeah, the Hawks.
Yeah, Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah.
So it's just like that with all these people coming out now.
In the city, that's what? What's the percentage of black people?
Yeah,
it's probably like it's amazing. I always thought it was more than it is. Atlanta's like 40%.
That's still a high percentage.
That's still high. It's higher than
I
didn't realize. I thought it was 60. It's actually because when you're in Atlanta, you feel like
though. I mean, the downtown, I bet it's
high, but it was it's a still high percentage.
You been to Walters? You ever bought anything at Walters?
No.
What?
No, I never.
The clothing store in Atlanta?
No, I never been to Walters.
Yeah, like all these GMs are just exploiting this moment to get media attention for their teams.
Well, they also the biggest problem is. It's media attention, but if you don't kneel, you don't want to be the owner of the GM, where you're not sympathetic because most of your team is 80% black.
Well, the NFL owners are out as pro-Trump bastards now. I mean, they donated more to his campaign than they ever have in the history of any presidential candidate.
But they don't support him now.
Well, they donated millions of dollars to him, so who cares? It's again, words don't mean anything, actions do.
Right.
Yeah. And so, I mean, these people coming out, putting millions towards him, now they're taking a knee, trying to jump on the train of realizing Donald Trump is actually hated in America. It's like the dude didn't get the popular
Well, he's hated by the employees.
Right.
Again, they're not in college.
But is he really?
Money.
He's
so
really
free
hated
agents
though?
won't go.
Yeah, he won 47% of the vote, not above 50. People need to stop acting like he won. But he's not a real president.
And
47%
your employees are the big deal because if Kaepernick and it's not just him, if most of the players hate him and you're trying to get agents and you go, well, Jerry Jones is cool, he's kneeling and he's doing all this, or Arthur Blank, he will locked arms. If you come out and say no, you should be fired, the owner that fires somebody for kneeling, how many players are going to be on his team?
Yeah, it's going to be like the what's that guy's name? The Clippers guy, Don.
They had to get rid of him.
Yeah,
Adam Silver had to come out and say we can't have racist owners.
Sterling.
Even though everyone knew he was a racist owner for a
disgusting.
decade, and no one, I mean, the internal people knew he was racist. He didn't become just racist on that day.
Right.
He was racist for all time.
He was Donald Trump before Donald Trump.
But he talks. Yeah.
And they still raised money for him during the whole campaign. They tolerated it, but now it is a business liability.
Right.
Yeah, and it's a sponsorship, right? Sponsorship thing. And,
no, my boy Tom Brady got smart, man. He realized he couldn't support that dude anymore.
Not publicly, no.
No, that publicly said no.
His wife slapped that down. She's like, we don't talk about politics anymore. But yeah, the one thing I just feel like I got to say this: all these people that are acting like the respect for the flag is the reason they're mad about people kneeling and they're pro-Trump makes no sense to me. This is if you are someone that is a Blue Lives Matter person, you're mad about people kneeling, but you voted for Donald Trump. This is the same guy that said he doesn't like veterans that got captured. I mean, this is the same guy that talks shit.
They were losers.
Yeah, talk shit about people getting pro. It's like this is the guy that has insulted veterans and people like Gold Star families that just disagree with him. He haven't been civil. Like he's mocked families of
Women,
veterans
yeah.
and
Well,
other
yeah,
on a
it's,
consistent basis that are patriots. So for people to act like they're
And
patriots,
he dodged the draft.
right.
Right.
So for people to act like that is
I
the
mean, that's the
reason.
other thing. I mean, he's the draft dodger.
I mean,
So-
that's not. I mean, everybody. It's Bush. Everybody.
Well, no, Bush.
No,
Bush
Bush
got
shot
no,
down.
No.
Bush got-
I'm talking about the son.
No, he got
Son.
honorably discharged after did cocaine or something. I think.
From the National Guard.
George W. Bush Jr. now is like charming to me. Like since this whole started.
Well, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
everybody's
I never
always
thought-
cool
I
after.
never thought I'd be in a
after
situation
you-
where I'll sit
yeah.
there and go, I wish we had Bush back.
Well, he's
after
why.
you're in it, after you get out of it, everybody's always cool. I mean, the bottom line is it's a culture war, man. We're fighting a culture war. Everybody every day is fighting a culture war. It's what it's
But whose fault
generation.
is that, though? Is that
But
the president?
that's beginning of time. That's politics 101.
It's not the
If
president's fault,
if you're
it's-
losing, you fight the culture war, man. He's losing in popularity. You say nobody likes him. So what's the best thing that you have to do? You gotta hijack the issue, which he did, and keep saying ad nauseum that the kneeling is anti-American.
Yeah, because
it's
he doesn't-
anti-flag. When they've already said it time and time again that it's against police brutality. So my question is this. Do we need a new spokesperson? Because I'm tired, honestly.
A new spokesperson for who? Sorry.
I'm tired of these athletes.
You mean someone besides Colin Kaepernick being a spokesperson?
No, I'm talking about, okay, the NBA season started. You got NBA Media Day. What's the first question they ask them? What do you think about the kneeling? What do you think about the kneel? What do you think about NFL?
Because they have a
last
rule
week?
that says they can't kneel.
So-
The NBA has a rule that you
But
have to stand.
those guys, but I'm listening to these guys try to articulate a point, and it's like, man, I don't want to. These are the guys that don't want to advocate for my point, man.
Oh,
that's just my my point.
The union lawyer for the NBA, I think, is an ex-public defender, serves at DC, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, what's her name?
She is amazing.
Yeah, she's
now
good.
that is who they want to be articulating their points.
But they're not going to ask her any questions. They're asking LeBron James what he thinks about
LeBron,
Kaepernick
I
kneeling.
have to say, I have a lot of respect for him.
LeBron's not too bad.
Well, he's got a good point.
He's still close to Jim Brown. He's not Jordan.
He's getting to where he can be articulate.
I mean, he did the hoodie
It took a
thing.
while. It took a while.
He did the hoodie thing
By the way,
right
dog
after
whistle
Trayvon
racist
Martin.
language.
It took a minute.
More articulate black men want to just make that a flag. Don't want to feel like that's
It
inappropriate
took
for you to say.
it took a minute though, because in initially when the kid got shot in Cleveland, Tamir Rice, they asked him about that. He's like, I got to get the facts about it. So it took him a while to come around with the Trayvon Martin thing. It takes all these guys a while. It takes them a while to come around because we're talking, and then you go back to the college thing, okay? Because why? These guys are ingratiated and ingrained. It's ingrained in them from the time that they're identified as uber talent. That hey, stay away from this controversial stuff. Play ball, okay, and do the Jordan thing.
That's what Kobe.
Do the Kobe thing. Do the non-political thing. Only we can raise money for hurricane victims. We can raise $4 million for hurricane victims, but we do not say anything that's going to that may be offensive to 30 or 40% of the kids that buy your tennis shoe.
It's just
And that's what it is. That's what everybody. 8 months later, of course, you shouldn't shoot a kid. You shouldn't shoot Trayvon Martin.
Yeah, well,
you shouldn't shoot Tamir
that's the
Rice.
thing
That's easy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's easy.
It is just straight up white supremacy when it comes to these kind of things. Like that black athletes, for some reason, it's controversial to say, I don't think it's right that police shoot and kill 8-year-olds. Is that how old Tamir was? Right? Like that it's dramatic for LeBron James or someone to say, I want police to stop murdering children in my communities and we should take more steps to make sure we're not killing children and young people in our cities. And like white America has a huge problem with that statement. I don't get it. Like there shouldn't be a reason anyone should have an issue with those kind of movements. Like Black Lives Matter, where they're just articulating, we need police to be more community centered. We need police to stop shooting and killing people. And there's safer and clearly better ways to do this. And really, I just think racists just ignore that entire argument and then make it about the flag.
It's easy, but it's so easy to do. It's very easy to do because why? Because That's what the newspapers do. That's what the television does. That's what social media. That's it's easy. That's an easier read.
You cannot. It's perspective. Like if you grew up in a country where the flag means all these freedoms, you can sit there and back and say, well, how could you make millions of dollars and then kneel
be ungrateful
and be ungrateful for a country that gave you all this opportunity? Not realizing that, well, only for about 3 or 4 years or 5 years they've made this money. They did come from very impoverished backgrounds. You see injustice in your neighborhood every day. You still see injustice. You have kids, and most of them are saying, I want this because I need the deal because I have kids that are going to grow up and I want to set an example. And so people that come from white backgrounds, like, I'm patriotic, I don't understand it, but they never been pulled over and beaten. Right. So you don't have the perspective of you don't have that perspective. The thing that's amazing is on the Facebook discussions how people are like,
and that's not and just so we know, that's not an excuse. I've never been pulled over and shot, or I don't have a family that's been shot and killed by police. I get that it's still a horrible, evil thing.
I haven't
white
either.
People don't get to be hiding behind.
I haven't either.
Like that. They're just assholes.
Well, you are
there.
definitely more like. There are people who are like, I don't see this, so it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
I don't see the justice.
And just real quick, the one thing that I want to reference, and when people say, well, they should be grateful, just to cite an American classic, Scarface. You know in Scarface, who was the actor in it?
Al Pacino.
Al Pacino.
Al Pacino, he's like in the streets, he's like homeless. And I think the mobster comes up to him and like gives him a task to do, and the mobster I think gives him an additional thing as if like and he wants Al Pacino to do it for free as like a come up.
Right.
And Al Pacino says, "You act like I'm doing you a favor, or like you act like you're doing me a favor by giving me this job."
Right.
These athletes are so gifted and so talented; they don't need America to make millions. Like, LeBron James could go to China right now and make hundreds of millions of dollars in their stupid leagues.
But I guess the question, that gets back, I think, to a more complex issue. Why doesn't he do it?
Because he likes living here. That's why. And he has a right to do that because he's an American.
He's got a right to do it. He's got because he's American.
Because he wants to help his society. He wants to make it a better place.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
No, I think he has a right to live.
No, he doesn't.
But I do think I don't have these problems. They don't exist. Same reason why it's like I don't understand why we have the Black Lives Matter. Or they equate Black Lives Matter with. I had to get into an argument with somebody on Facebook about how he never saw the KKK kill anyone in his lifetime.
I haven't either.
And I said,
"Well, we saw. I mean, what you mean, like personal? No. Did he see personally?
No, he says yes in my lifetime. And I said,
oh, okay.
Really? We're about the same age in the 40s. And I said, really?
We saw it on the news.
Oklahoma City, how about Charlottesville? How about the Texas incident? I said, are you like blind and deaf? Yeah. He said, I've never seen this. But Black Lives Matter is a hate group, and he equated Black Lives Matter with the KKK.
Oh, a hate group.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I said, well, wait a minute. There are white people I know in Black Lives Matter. I don't know any black people in the KKK.
Right. Except Dave Chappelle. What's his name?
We did that in skit. That was funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's just.
But
that's part of the culture war. That's part of the culture war. That's always going to go on. It's always been going on because. You are on you can't be gray. You have to be either one side or the other. Yeah. And if
you either believe people shouldn't be killed by police or you do.
Or you do. or you got the past. You have the past that says, hey man, I got season tickets for U of L. My kid loves Russ Smith. He wears his jersey all the time. I gotta be pro. I love all lives matter. Okay, that's another hijack. Blue lives matter. All lives matter. These people don't have anything. They don't have a slogan until they've heard the first slogan. Nobody said all lives matter, blue lives matter until it was Black Lives Matter. Yeah. So it's the same thing again. It's just like Pat Boone taking Little Richard's song.
That's what I was thinking. This is culture.
It's culture vulture stuff. It's appropriation, man. I mean, it's the same thing. And then after a while, it gets watered down until you have. I go back to it until you have an economic base or economic component of your protest. It's not going to. It's going to be a fad, man. That's just
and I think there's a lot of that with the kneeling and all these different actions since Donald Trump was elected. Everyone's trying to become political, and interesting thing watching it as someone who I feel like in my work, I feel like I'm active in like working against these things. But a lot of these people that haven't been politically active before, like these taking a knee actions, thinking that alone makes them an ally. I think that's something that people need to realize in America as part of being politically active. It is so much more than just these public protests. It's so much more than just going out and being loud walking down the street. Going like when Trump got elected, I think in Louisville, people walked down the street and were like, "Not Trump, not my president," like this.
Right.
And I was like, "What did you all do tomorrow? Like, where did you go to stop this from happening in the future? Like, what are you doing besides taking 2 hours after you get off work instead of watching TV, going out for a walk and chanting something? I mean, you need to do
American
more."
news cycle.
Right.
Yeah, I mean something always comes up, right?
Something comes up and we forget about stuff.
Exactly.
You can't celebrate you can't celebrate Dick Gregory's death because who dies a couple of days later? I forgot who it was. I don't know. Some other actor died a couple of days later. So, I mean, yeah, right. It's the mass consumption thing. You got to always have something to protest, all right? Because you can't stick to one subject and see anything through because there's always something else always happens. A couple of weeks ago, a month ago, whatever, it was Charlottesville, right? You would think though,
and it should still be about Puerto Rico right now.
Right, it should be about Puerto Rico. But I mean, but you had a hurricane in Texas, you had a hurricane in Florida,
We spent
Puerto
more time
Rico.
on the president spent more time tweeting on kneeling in the NFL than we spent on sending aid to Puerto Rico.
And that's like some stay woke type stuff. Where
And
it's
that's
like,
America, right? Puerto Rico's America.
Don't pay attention to the stupid kneeling tweets. Pay attention to all these people suffering in Puerto Rico that are American citizens while we fail to give them aid. Like, that is the important issue right now. Like, that is the issue.
What he says is because the logistics are tough. It's boat. You can just drive a truck into Texas. You got to take a boat to Puerto, because Puerto Rico's an island.
Yeah.
And these are direct quotes. Puerto Rico's an island surrounded by water. A lot of water.
You can tell he's talking to his base, though.
A lot of water.
He's talking to his base, and it's like sad, but it's just
because
that's how people digest information now. Like some people are so undereducated that voted for him.
That's what it. That's part of it.
I actually think that's my biggest issue is that there's so many people that get their information and they know that fake news is very good for them, and they say I don't trust anything but him.
Right.
And he can control his own image.
Yeah, he's created
no
this
nuance.
confusion by doing this kind of switching constantly.
That's it, man. So we talked about Trump, talk about U of L. Tibbs probably still wants to talk about U of L.
No,
I will say this though, it's like a big cloud over the city, man. It's depressing. Y'all need to snap out of it, man. Snap out of it, Louisville. I mean, come on, man. And to be honest with you,
it'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah,
Louisville was acting like they were blue blood basketball, man. Louisville's like you do know Louisville was a commuter school up until like 1977, man. They didn't have dorms, man. You do know that, right?
No, I understand.
Yeah, it's a
that.
community college.
But
so anything Louisville gets is icing on the cake.
Now,
it's a come up, man.
First of all, now
Honestly,
it is
it's
the
a come
number
up.
one revenue generating school.
Here we go. So it's all about the dollars now, right?
Anything that can get
that's not
downtown
problem.
Louisville away from being this tourist attraction parking lot dumpster fire that it is right now.
What'd you say?
It's a dumpster fire.
Louisville is?
Downtown area? Yeah,
Oh.
all these ugly parking lots. We got an award this year for the ugliest downtown with the most eyesore parking lots.
You said-
It's the
You sound like
golden. It's like the golden pothole.
You're the
award.
problem.
you sound like an arrogant.
Downtown.
You sound like an arront East Coast.
I know that's what I said.
You sound like a carpetbagger. You're
We
a carpetbagger.
have, yeah, but we are. Well, one of the things
We
is
don't need all these
amazing.
parking lots. Come
is
on.
that
You
we
sound
are-
like an elitist. That's what you sound
Well,
like.
it
You're an
sounds to me
elitist.
like we're going to be
don't
making a
even
big
eat-
decision because they're about to tear
eat
down
hot
Beach
browns.
Terrace,
Yeah.
and they're going to turn that into a village and obviously gentrify all
A
the people
village.
there.
A village.
A mobile village or something, and so
A
they're
village.
building an Omni Hotel. We got hotels coming up all around downtown.
Yeah, it's all hotels and tourist attractions. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what makes me furious.
It's the money.
They're building downtown like no one lives here. Like there's no one that lives downtown.
Well,
it's like
so,
just completely ignore the West
Well,
End and the infrastructure.
Because
building.
the money is all coming in because of what bourbon.
Bourbon is money's in
and
bourbon.
The museums and the Derby and all that stuff. So the bourbon is becoming big. So they're driving the money. That's where the money.
Speaking of exploitation of downtown, the Churchill
With
Downs.
the bourbon?
No, Churchill Downs and Derby. What do they pay people that work in there? They pay a minimum wage. I think they hire undocumented workers on a constant basis. It's like what is Churchill Downs?
They should be grateful to have a job, man.
Exactly.
That's what people say.
Right.
They should be
right.
grateful.
I think
they should be grateful to have a job.
What does Churchill Downs besides economics? What do they do for the community?
Right.
I couldn't name one thing that they endorse.
They treat horses real well.
Yeah, that exactly. Yeah, they're.
I don't see them on any major
Do
community.
they do anything with Forecastle even? I mean, Forecastle.
Forecastle.
I'm a fan of Forecastle. I like that.
But I'm
you
just
like
talking
the
about community events. I don't know what they donate to.
Right.
I mean, I couldn't.
It is such a out of towner use of Louisville. Like just everyone from the country comes down to Louisville once a year, uses up our city, and then leaves and forgets about us for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, but that's what
But
your economy is based on. That's what everybody's economy is based on. I mean,
I mean, it's not Mardi Gras, but it is sort of like Mardi Gras. But other people go to New Orleans for other reasons, but it is sort of like that.
Yeah.
It's the same as the Indy 500. It's the same as Daytona.
But New Orleans isn't going to exist once the next mega hurricane hits, probably. I mean, Jesus. I mean, the way the Irma and all these hurricanes are mind blowing. Like how large they are.
Well, it's not the hurricane.
You make me depressed.
But see, here's the thing. It's not. It's not the hurricane so much. It's the infrastructure. I mean, when you pour concrete on everything, like in Houston, you don't have anything to absorb
that was
the
hilarious.
water.
Yeah, Houston didn't care at all about building protect against that.
They don't have any. What do you call it? They don't have any zoning laws.
Yeah, unbelievable.
But hey, man, it is what it is, man. I'm Brandon Lawrence, the lawyer for the city.
Hey, I'm Andrew Damota. I'm with the Public Defender's Office, but again, I'm here in my personal capacity.
As a citizen. And this is
citizens arrest.
And this is Krsna Tibbs. And again, I'm an attorney here that do family and criminal law.
And you've been listening to What's Good. See you next time.